Thoughts, opinions, and general overall shade thrown on High at 9 News are those of the individual speakers and not those of High at 9 News, its audience, or its advertisers. The statements made do not constitute medical, legal, or financial advice, and for advice tailored to your specific situation, please consult with a licensed professional. Welcome to the High at 9 News Hour, where you will hear from cannabis industry experts and professionals from around the country talk about important topics while shining light on global issues and discussing cannabis as it relates to politics, regulation and reform, data and technology, science, research and medicine, family and parenting, art, celebrities and entertainment, fitness, sports, mental health and wellness, and plant-based medicines and entheogenics. Together, we are building a stronger community, fighting the stigma and creating change. With your hosts, Jason Beck and Rico Lamitte, joined by special industry expert correspondents from around the country, and daily antics brought to you by Cannabis. Coming to you live every Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific Time and high noon on the East Coast. And thank you all for getting high at 9 with us.
You probably wrote your mother's prescription.
Teleprompter for Friday.
I represented him leasing office space back in 2000
All right. Good morning, everybody. Yes, that's right. It's Friday, August 9th, and today is National Passion Fruit Day.
So passionate.
That's right. It's also National Veep Day. So shout out to the Veep.
Yeah.
Oh, boy. It's also National Rice Pudding Day.
Ew. Your mushy snacks?
National Book Lovers Day. Jenny, you'll like that.
I do like that. I do enjoy books.
And thank you all for joining us and getting high at 9 with us. It's also high noon on the East Coast. And please remember to like, share, and subscribe to us on all social media platforms. You can look down below or up above on your screen to see exactly where we live on the internet. And we are live every Monday through Friday on YouTube, Rumble, Twitch, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and on our very own website at www.highat9news.com. But kicking it off first, that's right, we have the dope dad himself, Mr. Rico Lamitte, the Quasimodo caretaker, the happy cabbage specialist, and, of course, he is the professional diaper changer, you guys.
He changes Jason's diapers.
No, he doesn't. I do not wear diapers. I don't know what the fuck you're talking about.
Word on the street is Donald J. Trump does.
You're about to get cut.
It's Bucket Friday.
Yeah, there we go. There we go. All right, so we are going to roll right on into the dope dad himself, Mr. Rico Lamitte. We are just having one small technical difficulty, and Rico will be right here with you.
Look at that.
That's why we're talking.
Oh, you got it. Oh shit! All right, yeah, bro.
We got the teleprompter on.
Yeah.
Got the teleprompter on too.
Yeah. We got you going.
I had the backup plan to the backup plan. You know what I'm saying?
I heard that.
That's why we were talking shit, yo. Kill a little time.
Yep. All right, well, kicking it off now, it is none other than the dope dad himself, Mr. Rico Lamitte. Yeah,
Thank you.
And the crowd goes wild.
Crowd goes wild, and it's a beautiful. It is a beautiful Friday morning. I'm glad to be in here live in the studio.
Yes.
And we'll save all of the fun banter back and forth for Jason's story. But mine is it's a little heartfelt, right? So. So let's get right into it. So apologies in advance if I come off as a little less empathetic than I truly am. Can you scroll this? Can we scroll?
There we go.
All right, there we go. Than I truly am on this one because it's only because the story is long and I have to be quick as we have a lot to cover today, and I'm sure Jason's story will be hogging a lot of oxygen.
That's right. Oh yeah, you know that's right.
But my story is about more inherent problems that have been exposed within Los Angeles's social equity programming following the release of a scathing report by an LA watchdog agency. So according to Green Market Report's John Schroyer, a civil grand jury reported that some licensed Los Angeles dispensaries are so desperate for revenue that they've begun breaking the law by selling legal products to unlicensed competitors. Right, so the new watchdog report was released late June, putting the Los Angeles Department of Cannabis Regulation and its oversight of the Cannabis Social Equity Program in the hot seat, concluding that the agency is, quote, doing an inadequate job assisting those the program was intended to help. Schroyer said that the report, which was issued by an investigative committee with the Los Angeles County Civil Grand Jury, found that county governments are exacting more and more fees from the owners and operators of cannabis businesses, making it hard for the legal operators to stay open and stay viable. The findings are a result of a 5-member group's labor between July 2023 and June of this year, in which the committee visited more than 60 business locations, interviewed more than 80 industry participants, and spoke at length with four social equity operators in Los Angeles proper. And a 22-page summary of the investigation was included in the civil grand jury's final 510-page report from the past year, concluding Los Angeles social equity's problems are multifaceted and are not limited to flaws within the severely understaffed and underfunded DCR. Per the report's text, the committee found several glaring areas of concern, and the DCR appears not to be helping applicants navigate the myriad of rules to follow in order to receive a license. The committee said that LA's social equity licenses faced a series of systemic barriers, leading many to simply abandon their permits instead of pursuing the promise of getting in on the ground floor of California's industry. 5 major barriers highlighted in the report include long delays, often years, between when an applicant wins a license and when they're approved to begin actual business operations, high state and local business fees and tax rates, the risks of engaging with predatory business partners, right? Due to excessive red tape and fees, failure by the DCR to communicate effectively to applicants about the fees, resources available, including technical assistance and legal assistance. Complex legal issues are hard to navigate without professional help, and due to the program still in flux, and the DCR is struggling to keep up in creating equitable rules and regulations with the ever-changing circumstances encountered by social equity applicants, the report asserted. Schroyer says that the spokesperson for the DCR declined to comment further on the report, but said that the agency will respond in writing by August 27th, which is required under state law. However, a source familiar with both the report and Los Angeles licensing rollout said a grand jury report contained multiple factual errors, and the committee did not consult with the DCR on several points made by social equity sources who were interviewed. The result, the source said, was a one-sided and flawed assessment by the civil grand jury instead of a fair and complete picture of the agency's work on social equity. Schroyer says that the report can still be taken as a reflection of frustration by those on the ground in Los Angeles' social equity program, some of whom previously told Green Market Report that they believe that the program has failed due to how few licenses have managed to open for a business. The financial burdens cited by the new report include both city and state taxes, including a 4% city gross sales tax, a 15% state excise tax, and 10% more to the city for every $1,000 in sales, in addition to business fees enacted by the DCR and other LA city agencies, ultimately dubbing California's entire cannabis taxation system and rates excessive and exorbitant. Those fees add up to an estimated total of $131,000, which includes a roughly $16,000 bill for environmental impact report, $7,000 for annual license application, and dozens of other fees. This is all before the costs of licenses to obtain retail sites and or manufacturing facilities to operate, all before 1 gram of cannabis can be sold by the dispensary store owner, end quote. These mounting fees assessments can create a cottage industry for illegal and unregulated stores to open. The committee found that the financial toll is so hefty that some legal licensed social equity businesses have allegedly begun breaking the law just to keep their doors open. The committee members have been told by a number of social equity business owners that in order to keep up with DCR payments, some licensed dispensaries have resorted to selling legal cannabis to illegal dispensaries and buying unlicensed product from illegal cultivators and distributors in order to escape some of the 4% gross sales tax and the 15% excise tax. According to every license holder interviewed, including those who lost their licenses by not being able to keep up with taxes and fees, and those who are still operating a retail facility. These taxes are a great contributor to their failure and still pose serious threats to them. The report concluded by offering a number of policy recommendations to the City Council and DCR, including increasing technical support and educational opportunities for the city for social equity applicants, update the license review system to notify permit applicants when there are delays in the process, offer more monetary assistance, you think, from the city to social equity businesses so they don't have to turn into bad actors. Improve the training for DCR staff in order to better assist applicants in navigating the overall permitting process. Change the city cannabis business fee structure to a comparable non-cannabis business system in the spirit of financial fairness. So, believe it or not, I cut out a whole lot of details from this one in respect for time, but Schroyer did an excellent job and thorough a job of outlining the report and its findings, which can be found on our website, high9news.com, as well as links to the original story. I got to tip my hat to the grand jury committee and Schroyer for going deep on this one. To me, it is simple. The city of Los Angeles, the DCR, the city council gave social equity applicants a bad deal from the jump. Since 2018, the agencies continue to fail on following through on promises made, refined, made again and again. As much as I want to be optimistic, I just don't see things getting better here anytime soon. My heart definitely goes out to all those involved, especially the operators who've managed to stay open against the seemingly insurmountable odds stacked against them. For all the good folks considering implementing social equity into other markets or participating in these programs, please read this report and learn from what LA got wrong. We were sold generational wealth and given 8 years of systemic pain. Don't make the same mistake. I'm Rico Lamitte, the dopest dad on the street for High at 9 News. Talk about socialist equity, bro.
I do not look amused.
Oh, man. Oh, yeah, go for it. Go for it, Jenny. Oh, I know
Okay.
you're waiting to pop off.
I'm gonna take a smooth, deep fucking breath before I start this, because you know that this is like very, very, very near and dear to my heart, and I worked with many of these applicants for fucking free because the city had a technical assistance program that was paused when a lot of my applicants were going through life or death situations with their businesses. I was later terminated for helping them, by the way, for free during that time. So this pisses me off. I brought things personally to the DCR's attention. Like, they know what's going on. They have a duty of care to these applicants, and there is no focus on that. There are a couple of people, I will shout out to them. They know who they are. I'm not going to say their names so they don't get picked upon, but they actually do care, and they've done a great job for the applicants. But by and large, you get analysts that don't respond. You get analysts being outright disrespectful to some of these people when they're just trying to pay their fees. You get promises of fee waivers, right? There was a situation where there were fee waivers, there's these resources that were allocated, and then, all of a sudden, we're only giving those to the winners of the last lottery, which is bullshit, because the first two lottery winners did not have the technical assistance program. They did not have these fee waivers. They didn't have any of the things to make them successful. So I think that it's very, very, very interesting that you guys choose to posture right now and set aside fee waivers for certain rounds of applicants, because that's not equity. You have funds available, you give them to everyone who is qualified for those fucking funds, or you give them to no one. That is cherry picking, and that's trying to make it look like your program is all of a sudden a success. Maybe because it's under investigation. So I'm going to keep my mouth shut for right now, just because I'm going to go a little too far with this, and I don't want to do that because I'm a nice girl. But
she's going to drive off the ledge, you guys.
The people who they had giving a lot of this education are not qualified. You're not fucking operators. How are you going to tell people how to operate something? You're not operating. I don't care if you've operated 215. You haven't operated a licensed company, so how the fuck are you supposed to tell these people to? The quality of the education should not be based on nepotism and based on getting your friends paid. And I'm so sick of seeing this happen. I'm sick of seeing what's happening in LA. It's not just LA County. It's not just our LA City DCR. It's a lot of social equity agencies. And you guys are getting this absolutely wrong. And at the end of the day, you're fucking liable. I've seen a lot of ass covering from these agencies trying to make sure that they're not suit worthy. You are. Because you do have a duty of care. And yes, there's a process. It's called a government claim before a right to sue. But I guess we'll see you there. So,
and then we have, I'm not going to name names either. I have named names. Like I said, scroll far enough on my Instagram, you'll see some people I've named out, called out. And I have receipts too. But as both of you guys remember, back in 2016, 2017, when we were promised this, we were promised that, it just devolved into chaos. And what's sadder to me is seeing some of these bad actors who have been fleshed out over time going into other markets and consulting for the other markets to do the same exact thing.
100%.
And it is, sorry, Jason, but to the melanated ones of us, it hurts even more to see it come from our people.
Yeah.
It does. So it's not just
people that look like Jason.
them. It is. It is not just people that don't look like us, man. So
They not like us.
Yeah,
They not like us.
My big.
Wow.
They're not like us.
A falsetto on it
They're
this
taking
morning.
that too. It's time for new songs. No, but seriously, I'm not a big believer in quote unquote advice. Like, your life's journey has been different than mine. How you handle your situations is always gonna be different than mine. But I will always let people and share my experiences of what happened to me and with some of these people. Ask folks who have dealt with these people before, not just one or two people. There's plenty of people who have dealt with these bad actors. Make sure you do your research and show up to the negotiation table ready to do business. Whoever's on the other side of the table is not your friend.
Right.
The DCR is not your friend.
Nope.
The city council and wherever you are is not your friend. Make sure you have your legal representation right, and make sure you know how to properly operate a business or have a proper business manager in place before you get into these predatory deals. And I'm not just talking about predatory lenders. I'm talking about these city councils. I'm talking about these organizations, from state to state, municipality to municipality. Like, they will screw you over too and leave you scratching your head thinking that you were in a position to win.
Yep.
So
No,
keep it a
100%.
I have some not melanated perspective about these programs as a verified social equity applicant in San Francisco and Sonoma County, and also as the person whose CV and life story was used by Elevate Partners when they ran at the RFP in Mendocino so that they could facilitate this program. They also did, Elevate Partners was also in Los Angeles and a variety of other markets. In Mendocino County, they used my likeness. I stood up structure for training programs for cooperative business models for cannabis operators, and then Elevate Partners ghosted me and didn't pay me. Thank you, guys. Yes, that was y'all. And when I followed up with them, they said, well, the program was totally FUBAR. And I'm like, well, that has nothing to do with your promise to pay. In San Francisco used to be a pretty good program. They were pretty responsive. We've had about 5 rounds of grant funding in San Francisco. The problem with this money that's given by the state from GoBiz to these local municipalities is there's no due process when you onboard these funds from these programs. So the first round, I was successful in navigating it. The second round, I was successful in navigating it. I think the third round as well. The fourth round, I proposed to use those grant funds for categories that were previously approved, like the tax liability that a social equity operator takes on when they receive these grant funds because it's considered income. So if you take on that grant money, you pay taxes on all of it, state and federal. And if you make other money in your life, which most people do, it raises your tax bracket for all the money you make. And so when I would receive grant funds for the distribution business in San Francisco, I would pay the tax liability of those funds from the funds that they gave me so that I didn't have to worry about the IRS breathing down my neck. On round 4, they said to me, we're sorry, we will not accept your use of funds because you haven't incurred that tax liability because we haven't given you the money yet. I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm taking on the money, paying the IRS and the Franchise Tax Board. That's good for y'all government system, holistically, everybody wins that way. And they're like, yeah, but because you haven't cast a check, you haven't incurred the tax liability. And so you can't pay the tax liability on the check you're going to incur. doesn't make any
crazy.
fucking sense and is inconsistent with the way that they had administered the money before. So they haven't codified any of those processes through the previous rounds of grant funds, which means that when you think you know what the lay of the land is, you don't. They rejected that. The other thing they did is, because I had spent the money out of a business bank account that had the name of my business with the same EIN number as me, they said, oh, well, it wasn't out of a business that had it wasn't out of an account that had your name on it. I'm like, are you kidding? It's the same EIN number. What does that matter? EIN, Social Security, this money came from me to spend these funds, and I'm asking for reimbursement. So sorry, Mr. Kubrin. This last round of grant funding in San Francisco, I showed them disbursement of a fuck ton of money, and they rejected me, and their response was, we want to see receipts. I said, I showed you the cashier's checks and the invoices, and that has worked for 3 out of the 4 last grant rounds. They said, well, accounting wants to see the back of the checks. I said, there's no back of a check with the cashier's check. You don't get that sent in the mail. They said, well, accounting wants to see on your bank statement the cashier's check. I said, here's a bank statement from Bank of America, and as you can tell, there is no payee information where you've taken the cashier's check out of your account to make that payment. So they literally underwrit the program, asking for deliverables I could not provide, that it made no sense. And then they rejected all of it. And then they pointed to the language in the grant funding to say that in the fine print, we can reject your entire thing if any of it doesn't make any sense. I said, yeah, but in your grant funding, Article 16 says I'm not allowed to serve fucking soda because it's San Francisco. Is that going to be the reason why you didn't allow me to receive those grant fundings? No response, crickets. So I share this with you because part of the biggest problem when these counties or these cities take on the grant funds is there's no appeals process. If they make a decision, that's not articulated in the paperwork. There's no codification of the process from previous rounds of grant funding. Okay, I should expect that it will be the same last time. And what I've noticed that they're doing is they're moving the goalpost while you're playing the game, and they, I think, are increasingly concerned about the notion that there will be subsequent oversight or an audit by other bodies. This last round of grant funding in San Francisco, here in the last 60 days, I gave them a proposed use of funds that included only office equipment, electronics, audiovisual stuff, big screens for the office, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. They rejected it. And I did it preemptively because I had a feeling, and the hairs on the back of my neck were already standing up, that they were going to try to find a creative way that might include fucking me. And they rejected it. I said, why would you reject my use of funds? I gave you an itemized thing, all of them. They said, well, the accounting department didn't like it. I said, well, okay, why? They said, I'm sorry, we cannot give you an explanation unless you wait and provide a subsequent written request for an explanation. I'm like, I'm on a Zoom with you guys. You're lawyers. You work for the city. Theoretically, your job is to help these funds get to the pockets of the people who qualify, and you won't even give me an explanation. So, I appreciated this report because I see Schroer trying to cover social equity. I didn't agree with the way he had depicted what happened with blunts and more, but I think he is providing a much more nuanced understanding in here. And what I think was also important about this report is that it said that one of the biggest issues for social equity applicants is the length of time it takes to get permits. And we've been saying that for a long time. If you got us sitting on the sidelines, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, we love you, but we're like way over time.
Way over time.
So
that's all I got for today.
We got to go to a commercial. We're going to be right back.
Oh, man, that was weird. Hey, you, America. Do I look like Sean Connery? Good morning, America. Saman Razani coming to you live from sunny Los Angeles, California with the one and only highest host, Mr. Jason Beck, smoking on the best weed in the world. Did you know that we have an audio-only version of our podcast? You can find it on Apple, Google, Amazon, iHeartRadio, and Spotify. No excuses in 2024. If you haven't checked us out, check it out now. And also, check out what the Prophet's doing in 2024.
There we go.
All right, y'all.
Why does it have a black? Oh, there we go.
There you go.
There we go. All right. Sorry about that. A lot of shit going on over here, guys.
Yes.
My bad.
And up next, y'all know who it is. It's the Donald Trump apologist himself.
Stop it. Don't need to apologize.
Coming off a Donald Trump apologist who claims that J.D. Vance's job is going to be his in a couple of months from now. But he is...
Just wait.
In actuality known as the highest Republican in every room that he walks into, the man known for smoking the best weed in the world, whatever he is smoking on. And here to break us off with a little heat for Friday, y'all know who it is, Jason Beck.
Yeah. Adam, do we have like an American anthem on that soundboard at all? All right, let's hit that. Let's hit the elephant then. Let's hit the elephant. There we go, you guys. That's right, because that's right. The boss, President Trump, suggests he supports decriminalizing marijuana, you guys. That's right. He's getting ready to take this issue from the Democrats. We need to move that button at whatever's on the screen. There we go. Thank you, buddy. Former President Donald Trump on Thursday suggested he supports decriminalizing marijuana, noting that cannabis is being legalized all over the country. Trump made the comments during a press conference at Mar-a-Lago, adding that he will announce his position on a ballot measure to legalize marijuana on Friday, basically fairly soon, you guys. And a quote says, "As we legalize it, I start to agree a lot more because, you know, it's being legalized all over the country," Trump said. According to a report from Marijuana Moment, Florida has something coming, and I'll be making a statement about that fairly soon, he says. Trump made his comments after a reporter asked him about the Biden administration's efforts to reclassify cannabis under federal drug laws and presumed Democratic presidential candidate Vice President Kamala Harris has repeated assertion that people should not be incarcerated for low-level marijuana offenses, you guys. As we legalize it throughout the country, whether it's a good thing or a bad thing, it's awfully hard to have people all over the jails that are in jail right now. Something that's legal, he says, Trump replied. And he also says, so I think previously there's a lot of sentiment to doing that. Trump's apparent willingness to consider the decriminalization of marijuana is a change for the Republican presidential candidate, who has repeatedly called for hard line on drug policies when this kind of goes on. You guys can read all of this. Do we have that video, Adam? Let's go to the video so you guys can see this for yourself, and then we're going to discuss. And if you want to read the rest of this article, you can find it on our website at www.highat9news just after the show.
And remember, what's shown in this video is taken out of context because you got to see the whole damn thing.
Just watch
this
the video.
Motherfucker was wilding.
Just watch the video.
Well, as we legalize it, I start to agree a lot more because, you know, it's being legalized all over the country. Florida has something coming up. I'll be making a statement about that fairly soon. But as we legalize it throughout the country, whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, it's awfully hard to have people all over the jails that are in jail right now for something that's legal. Mm-hmm. So I think, obviously, there's a lot of sentiment to doing that. Well, I'm going to announce that. I'm going to actually have a press conference on that at some point in the near future, so I don't want to tell you now. But Florida does have a vote coming up on that, and I think probably the vote will go in a little more liberal way than people thought. Mm-hmm. But I'll be announcing that at the appropriate time. Well, as we legalize it, I start...
Oh, man, that's right, Trump. I'm willing to put money on it that Trump is going to be a yes vote on Amendment 3 in Florida when he votes in November. And it might just be just for the pure and simple fact to snub Governor Ron DeSantis for him running against him during the presidential race. But I can't wait to hear what you guys have to say about this. To all the Trump haters, what do y'all have to say?
It's not about hating Trump. It's about
vote.
How many times are you going to believe a liar in anything that comes out of this man's mouth?
Hey.
He will say whatever it takes to get a positive reaction from anybody.
Say that again, Dr. Mark.
And convicted felons vote?
Well, his conviction, I think, is going to be overturned. So I'm not too worried about all of that. Not to mention, he doesn't have a felony in Florida, so I don't see how.
Florida does not let convicted felons vote. They cannot vote in Florida.
Yeah, but if you're not if you are convicted in another state and you move to that state, you still have your voting rights.
That's not how that works.
I'm sure it does.
I guess Ron DeSantis was playing 4D chess when he took away the rights of felons to vote in Florida.
Mm-hmm. Fair.
Ron DeSantis, the Sarasota sage.
Jesus
I'm just telling you, Trump's going to end up voting for Amendment 3, and he can't
vote.
I mean, to me, he really.
Neither can dead people, but they do that every fucking election.
Yeah. What do you guys say about that, Rico?
When they found all those dead people, that I think it was like 90% of them voted Republican.
Did they?
Yes, they did.
All right, well.
Yes, they did. Y'all love to leave context out of this shit.
I'm not saying whose problem it is. I'm saying we have a problem with the voting system in this country to fucking begin with. I think that we need to find some clarity and find a better fucking process to start.
Yeah.
If we were a true democracy, we'd be voting on every issue instead of this electoral college shit. So, let's not break down the fact that we're not even actually a democracy, but I'll get there later.
Oh, you know, I agree with that. I don't think you'll get any pushback.
But I'm still voting for
that.
Trump, dog.
You can vote for Trump all you want.
I am.
And I will never I will never ever judge anybody for who you're voting for, who you support, who you marry, who you fraternize with. Mm-hmm. But just know that Trump saying this means absolutely nothing.
Hold on. How can you say that? You guys want to go and attack Trump at everything else that he says, and now all of a sudden he says this, and you're going to say it doesn't matter?
Jason, you had your time.
Go ahead.
You had your time.
Go ahead.
I feel like I'm in the middle of dad and dad fighting.
Let me finish.
Go ahead.
Trump saying this means absolutely nothing. Why? Because Trump saying anything means absolutely nothing. Why would you trust anything that comes out of this man's mouth? He doesn't remember what he said yesterday. He had a press conference with Aiden Ross, a man notoriously known for sniffing butts of men, and then doing the jerk off dance with him right outside.
That's a real questionable hobby.
What's that?
That's a questionable fucking hobby.
Exactly. This is what this dude does. Right? He will do anything for attention because Harris and Walz are kicking their ass right now.
No, they're not.
And he'll do absolutely and say absolutely anything to get more microphones in front of his face.
Rico, can I ask you a question?
Of course.
Okay, if we're talking about politicians lying, couldn't that be said for all the candidates?
Yes,
and also,
all of them.
Kamala pulled out everything, incling the twerculator herself.
I'll tell you what. How many people has Trump?
Let Rico answer the question.
She asked me a question.
Let Rico answer the question.
She asked me a question.
I feel like my black dad and my white dad are fighting. This is a very 2024 problem.
Oh boy.
I have two dads. That's not too inclusive for you guys. Yes, I don't like Kamala Harris. Period. I don't trust no politicians. Mm-hmm. But for Mr. Beck over here to clamor over, oh yeah, he's done it now. Like, no. Mm-hmm. Bring the same energy you have for Harris. Like, yo, we'll see when it happens. I'm gonna roll my eyes every damn time these people say anything about cannabis because we've not seen anything substantial happen yet. Whether it's Joe Biden, whether it's Kamala Harris, whether it's Donald Trump, whether it's Barack Obama, like what have we really seen? Nothing. Mm-hmm.
Right? If I may, I think this next election.
Good.
If I may, I think this next election is about personal freedoms and liberties and less government interference in our lives. Unfortunately, I do think that it's going to be about reproductive freedoms and not our ability to light up a joint.
So you're saying it's going to be about killing babies?
I'm going to say it's about women's right to have a relationship with their doctor with less government interference. And I 100%. Think that it is, at this point, a single issue election. They all suck. We can't trust any of them. But the question becomes, in my mind, when I have a granddaughter, I don't even have, when I have a granddaughter, will she have the right to choose when she wants to become a mother? And will she have those options with her doctor? And I think cannabis, believe it or not, I think is secondary to that.
Y'all are not going to like my opinion on this, but you have a right to choose when you want to become a mother most of the time, and except for instances of rape. Like, I knew what I was doing when I got pregnant. Wasn't planning on it, but I knew what I was doing, and that's a likely side effect of what I was doing.
It's not about liking your opinion or not. Like, everybody's entitled to their opinion. And
accountability.
You know what? And I respect that 100%. But what I would like to ask you, Yarrow, is, isn't it peculiar to you, would you not say, that this election cycle, at least, Democrats are seemingly the party of freedom, where the Republicans are like, oh, we want to restrict everything you do.
What are you talking about, bro? Are you serious? We just had.
I asked Yarrow.
Okay.
Hey, can't we have three fathers fighting? I mean, come on, what's going on?
My three dads.
My three dads.
I think we should get
No, you can't be my daddy, Yarrow.
Yes, I can. You just need to give me a try.
Oh, man. 3 men and a baby.
I'm not short when we're lying down.
Yeah.
So
I'm going to exercise my right to choose and pass. I'm not ready to become a mother right now.
Okay, so I think you bring up an interesting point, Rico, and I think that traditionally, prior to the hijacking of the party, the Republican Party was about less government interference, less regulation, and more personal liberties. And I think that got hijacked in the early 1980s when a fringe element decided that they were going to insert this notion that women didn't get to choose when it came to certain procedures with their doctors. So there's that.
Gingrich.
So you mean the guy who cheated on his wife while she was in the hospital with
Who
cancer?
else was
He doesn't. So speaking of inserting, you just stop it, young man. What I do think,
your room.
what I do think is that while the Democrats may certainly be positioned to be on the right side of history when it comes to personal liberties and freedoms in this election cycle, where they did miss the mark in 2016 as well as in 2024 is in allowing their base and the popularity of candidates to be the reason why a candidate was chosen. And so I think that the Democrats made a massive misstep in just inserting Kamala instead of allowing there to be a little bit of runoff. And so I worry that won't activate the Democratic base for the Democrats the way Trump has been able to activate the base for Republicans. And so separate from policies, just getting people fired up and ready to go to the polls, I think the Democrats have once again screwed the pooch.
I would like to say this.
Go ahead.
In a positive note about Donald Trump's sudden and abrupt evolution on cannabis is, I think it is great that rhetorically, at least, we have both sides supporting.
That's a huge win for cannabis. Huge win. Dr. Mark, we know you are not a Trump fan. Do you have anything else that you want to say in regards to this? Because we want to make sure all voices are heard in regards to this.
No, I think it's all lip service. I don't think either of these candidates or either of the parties are addressing cannabis. They'll only do it the convenience of grabbing those votes. And I'm totally in agreement with Yarrow that there's bigger fish to fry beyond women's reproductive rights. There's just the U.S. Constitution, folks.
Yes.
You vote one way and the U.S. Constitution goes into the trash. You vote the other way and it stays in place. That's all I'll say.
Fair enough. And big shout outs to Brian Dombrowski, who says, and I'm willing to, I think this would be the best thing if when Trump comes out with his press statement, if he says, if he notes that he signed the farm bill and already legalized the plant. Just saying. That would be the mic drop moment.
But he doesn't know. He can't read.
He 100% can read, bro. I've seen him read off the teleprompters, and I've seen him go off script, and you just see the teleprompter just pause, and he's just there talking. So like, stop the cap. He can totally read. But nonetheless, we're going to roll into this next story. We're going to keep this train rolling. Dr. T could not be with us today, but he did have this story that he did want us to share, and so I'm going to read this real quick, and we're going to switch topics and get off the political hype for a second and just go into some medical news, you guys, because a mom reveals how medical cannabis transformed her life at work. That's right. Sarah Devonshire, 50, was diagnosed with hypermobility disorder syndrome after developing debilitating pain in her hand, hip, and lower back. The condition causes joints to easily move beyond the normal range of motion and causes joint pain and frequent joint dislocations. The mom of two tried multiple pain relief medications before turning to medical cannabis in April of 2023, and after her husband, Tim, 49, an IT analyst, started using it to treat his anxiety. Sarah says since using it in a vape form, she has seen a massive improvement in her symptoms. Can we move that up, Adam, please? While CBD-only products are legal and readily available in the UK, products containing THC are illegal unless prescribed via the NHS or private clinics. Very few people are prescribed medical cannabis on the NHS in the UK, and so she has had to go private, but now has a monthly prescription, they say. We need to move that up again. Sarah gets her prescriptions from an online clinic costing approximately £150 per month. And Sarah, who works in a supermarket from Scatterborough, Cambridgeshire, says, "It has been a revelation that I never expected possible," she says. She says, "I went from feeling very unable to contribute to my work to feeling much more involved with the family and feeling confident that my employment was secure." Sarah believes the availability of medical cannabis should be made easier, and she also says the difference is just completely invaluable and totally worth it, she says. "I'll sleep much better, and it allows me to maintain a healthy balance. It has been totally transformative," she said. Sarah had previously struggled with diverticulitis, a condition that affects the large intestine, causing abdominal pain and other symptoms, but was diagnosed with hypermobility disorder syndrome, and this all came on after she and her two daughters, Faya 14 and Leah 24, were attacked outside their home back in 2015. Sarah said, "I was punched in the jaw and was out cold. I suffered from post-concussion syndrome for about 3 months," she says. And in which it meant that I could not ride my bike, and I was off of work for around 3 months, and I also developed an anxiety disorder. And when Sarah eventually went back to work at her local supermarket, she noticed the pain from her attack was not going away, she said. In a quote says, "It was becoming more predominant in my hand, hip, and lower back, to the point it was crippling me quite severely. So I spoke to my doctor and asked him to refer me to a musculoskeletal to find out what was going on." Sarah was officially diagnosed with hypermobility disorder syndrome back in August of 2021, though she suspects that she has had the condition since she was a teenager. And we're gonna just go into comments in this in the sake of time, because we are way over time on all of this stuff today. But I really want to give props to this mom who is willing to come out and be a voice of reason, because I'm sure that there's tons of people that are also suffering from this, and the fact that she's getting relief and is able to verbalize that and portray it to the community, I think, is just fantastic. Yeah, especially in the UK, because we know it's very, very different there than it is here in the US.
Right. They get to use a lot of cannabis over there right now. Mm-hmm. They're going through a lot of rough stuff over there.
Yeah.
Big love and positive vibes out to everybody out in the UK. Stay safe.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, access is really important. And she's from Peterborough, but I think it was cool because the story goes on to say that I believe her husband has some issues with autism and things like that, and kind of also find some relief. So I think it's awesome that they're able to access it, even if they're paying kind of maybe more than they should be, and whatever. She's able to get that access to get something that helps her and is willing to speak up for it. I think that's what we saw here in the U.S., right, with the HIV/AIDS movement. Dennis Perone, shout out to all the work that they did. Shout out to the Canna moms, though, that were willing to move their kids from Texas, wherever, to Colorado, so that they could give their children a normal life. And I think it's those stories that really touch the hearts of people who are so anti-cannabis, and I think we should elevate those stories much more.
Yeah, 100%. Amplify.
Totally. Dr. Mark, do you have any thoughts on this? On her diagnosis and all this fun stuff that vape carts are helping her?
Yeah, well, vaporization is a good way. It makes it, I think, more bioavailable than taken orally, because a lot of cannabinoids they're very hydrophobic. They're not very water soluble, so they have a difficult time getting into the bloodstream. But when you do vape, it does create basically a very fine aerosol delivery into the soft tissue of your lungs and the alveoli in your lungs, which is where the exchange between air, the oxygen in air and blood is. So that, the pulmonary function of your lungs is extremely important. I can understand why doctors, especially for immune-compromised patients, would not see vaping as a good delivery vehicle. But there's this example, which sounds like she's getting, it's working through vaping. So For those of us who just like to get high, we all know that, if you're not high and you take a couple hits of a vape pen, you can feel high. So it definitely is effective in getting into the bloodstream and agonizing your CB1 receptors. It just may not be the most medically acceptable way, although certainly vaping is more preferred than, say, smoking, right? A lot of doctors just don't agree with smoking as a way to deliver.
Yeah, most definitely. Most definitely. Any thoughts on this, Yarrow, before we move on? Or Jenny?
It just makes me sad to think about how we get to rail, rant, and riff about the states here in the United States that haven't opened up for greater patient access. And then, I think Rico really struck the right tone, like to have compassion for the people who live in other countries who don't have affordable and accessible cannabis. It just reminds us of how far we still have to go, and how this fight doesn't end at our borders, and how this isn't just about operators in our markets, and that we still all really probably help everybody if we continue to be unabashed champions for cannabis and the journey cannabis has in Western medicine and helping to treat ailments. I'm not a doctor. I don't play one on TV, but Jenny, I could play one with you, and I just think that it's important that we remember.
Can we get a womp womp sound?
It's actually a trombone.
That sound never happens when I have Congress. But anyway, the thing is that we need to remember that there are people like this woman, and so I appreciate these human interest pieces because it puts a face to the issue we still need to solve for.
Warts and all, America's still the best.
Fair enough.
Best place to be.
Any other final thoughts on this, Dr. Mark?
No.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. We're going to go to our commercial, and we're going to be right back.
Let's do it.
I just ordered the summertime strawberry salad when added steak on top here at Anna's. Make sure you do the same thing too next time you're in downtown Long Beach. Come on down and check out Anna's joint on the 400 block of Pine Street. They have amazing selection of beers, foods, and when you come down here to Anna's, you can even challenge me to a game of shuffleboard if you want to lose. Did you get that? So, next time you're in downtown Long Beach on Pine Avenue, make sure you stop by Anna's Joint on the 400 block. Not only do they have Anna's Joint, this restaurant and bar, but they also have the amazing deli next door, and then next door to that they have a very exotic flower shop. You may want to stop by and say hi.
Whoa. Stop whatever you're doing, and these two need to stop too. And make sure that you hit that like button. Make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you've not subscribed already. All the articles that we cover on today's show, you can read directly on our website at www.high9news.com right after the show.
The Control Tower from Highly Educated has perfected the dab. Utilizing the concept of thin film evaporation, you can waste none of it and taste all of it. The micro texture of the SE pillar increases nucleation at elevated temperatures. And with the tower propelling at 2,600 RPMs, it's certainly the most efficient dab experience to date. The Control Tower from Highly Educated.
Oh, who got it?
It's that bounce back thing.
We're back.
Oh my God, I'm literally crying.
Up next, I'm going to go freestyle right now because I'm a fish out of water right now, but y'all know who it is. It is the second most melanated person on stage with us today.
Colorism on Friday morning.
Are you
Good
serious?
Lord.
I thought it was Dr. Mark was
No,
up.
that was just a fact. I'm saying, like, I'm darker. Right?
I thought Dr. Mark's next, though.
Oh, okay. Who we have up next? It is the anti-boof peddler from the great Northeast. He is a extraction and plant medicine expert, and now is also a professor up there teaching all the youngins how to clean their bongs properly. Up next is Dr. Mark Scialdone. What you got for us today, Dr. Mark?
Thanks, Rico. Happy Friday, everybody. Today, my story comes from Greenway Magazine, not so sciencey today, more about policy, but I found this story to be interesting, and it was published on Wednesday, and then since then there's been 3 related stories published to this, so it's gotten more interesting since Wednesday. So the title of the article is Marijuana Recall Due to Compliant Testing in Missouri. The Missouri Division of Cannabis Regulation, or DCR, working with Nature's Grace and Wellness, has announced a recall of marijuana products sold by NGWMO LLC. The recall affects products distributed to 80 dispensaries across the state following the discovery of non-compliant testing practices. The DCR, in cooperation with NGWMO LLC, issued a marijuana product recall today for marijuana products sold to dispensary facilities by Comprehensive Cultivation License NGWMO LLC CUL 00069 pursuant to 19 CSR 100-1.100 parentheses 4P. The DCR may issue public notice recall where marijuana products present a potential threat to health and human safety. No adverse reactions for these products have been reported to the DCR at this time, the release reads. The recall was initiated because the affected products were tested only at the unprocessed bud/flower stage rather than at the final product stage. DCR elaborated on the difference in the hold and recall list, explaining the recall that was issued earlier this week is related to a subset of these products placed on admin hold recently. However, there are some products listed on the recall that are not on admin hold. This is because there are products that were sold that were no longer in inventory. Patients and consumers need to know about those products, but there's nothing to hold those licensees accountable because they no longer have those products. The licensees have received a communication on this point. So this article goes on. There's nothing really special about this recall. There was no molds. There was no heavy metals. All they're saying is that there were like pre-rolls and other products that made it to dispensary. Even though the bud and the flower was tested, they've basically recalled all these products. 76,000 of them were recalled. Okay, so I thought that this was odd because it seems like, again, you know, the DCR here is supposed to be basically facilitating these businesses and getting stuff launched. And I guess, yeah, so the flower was tested, but the pre-rolls were not tested. So what's going to happen between flowers and pre-rolls? Well, I guess there could be microbial contamination, or it could degrade. Maybe the THC that, you know, was tested when it was first grown, it's put on the shelf. But what I notice is that if I go and I read the next article in this link, it talks about how big the Missouri sales are, and I guess the Missouri sales are, again, topping in over $100 million now. But then the next 2 articles in this link basically are the same thing, where they're just recalling material, recalling several $1,000s worth of product because it's just not fully compliant in their testing protocols. And so it's not like they found anything wrong with these products. So Missouri marijuana regulators issue recall for products tied to CNC manufacturing. This came out a day later. And again, more products are being recalled. The only notion is that the marijuana products were not compliantly tracked in the statewide track and trace system. So now there's 2 more recalls that have been announced in the same week of basically thousands of dollars of product just because it's not being conveniently traced. Well, again, this is what happens when these operators are basically working hand in hand with the hemp industry. So basically what's happening is all of a sudden in their tracking system, a bunch of product shows up. There's no seed to sale tracking on it, right? They don't know where those plants came from. All of a sudden materializes 10 kilograms of THC, which then go into vape pens, go into gummies, and go into all these formulated products. Well, it's obvious what's happening here, right? You could produce THC and psychoactive stuff from hemp for a whole lot cheaper than you can from growing cannabis and extracting it and putting it into products. So I think this is basically 3 different cases where there's been 3 recalls in 1 week by this Missouri's Division of Cannabis Regulation, because basically what they're finding is that their operators are putting hemp-derived stuff into the supply chain, and that makes a whole bubble in the whole seed-to-sale tracking thing. So at first, when I posted this story on Wednesday, I was like, oh, this is kind of a boring story. Okay, they're recalling some weed. And down in the announcement itself, there's this whole preamble about, if there is anybody who's affected by these products, and it's like, look, these products the weed was already tested. Now you're basically going to assume that the pre-rolls that are derived from tested weed are going to somehow get people sick? Are you kidding me? I think what's happening in the pre-roll thing, and Jason, you'll agree to this, you're just diluting that shit. You could basically turn 10 pounds into 150 pounds by just adding some hemp. Yeah. Add hemp, stir, and you have mids.
You know what we call that? You know what we call that, Dr. Mark? We call that cutter bud.
Yeah. So there's 2 kind of places in the seed to sale production process where there's slop, and where there's slop. Again, these unswarthy players can basically insert new input that's derived from cheaper hemp-derived sources. So one place where you can introduce slop. So when you're growing your plants, right, and now you have adult mature plants, when you trim those plants, you segregate those from your trim, your sticks and your stems, and you're taking your buds away and you take your trim away. Well, there's a lot of place for squish around there, right? So all of a sudden, what was 5 pounds could all of a sudden just become 15 pounds, right? And you could sort of like massage the data to basically say, okay, we had this much stuff coming through. The other place, and there's a few places in manufacturing and distillation, is that when you, if you do an ethanol-based extraction, most ethanol-based extraction extracts fats, waxes, and lipids, even if you do it down at minus 40 C. You can't help it. So there's usually a waste fraction when you winterize extracted oil. And when you winterize extracted oil, who's to say that you're getting 10 pounds of wax from that batch or 1 pound of wax from that batch, right? You basically call it. Now, some marijuana regulatory authorities in different states will actually want to see what is being thrown away, what's being discarded. But like one of my grower friends was telling me that he just takes all of his trim and all of his, fan leaves and non-productive, sticks and stems, and he just puts that back into his garden as mulch. So he just mulches it. He's been doing it for years, and the state wants him to weigh that because they need to be able to track how much marijuana is being produced in the system. Well, again, there's a little bit of slop there, so there's ways of introducing new inputs into the system. So I guess these folks in Missouri weren't really too smart, and were just thinking, well, we could just all of a sudden just create a bunch of vape pens, and just create a whole bunch of SKUs where you don't have the full, seed to sale tracking traced in your state's regulatory software that they're using. So this points out two things. First of all, these guys weren't too smart, right? But there's a lot of not too smart players that are out there. But secondly, there are smart players who are keen on how to basically massage the numbers and get more productivity in a seed-to-sale tracking thing. This is all just a stupid artifact of prohibition. If they didn't prohibit the plant, and if hemp and cannabis were able to come together and just be one unique industry and one unique plant, I think a lot of this shit would go away. But there in the Midwest, there's a lot of hemp being grown, and it's difficult to compete just on a price wise, and distribution, because those hemp guys, it's a just much larger addressable market because they can cross state borders and use the internet, where regulated sales under regulated cannabis programs have to be seed to sale tracked. You need to do background checks on all your people. You need to have armored cars deliver things, and it's just way over-regulated. And this is just an example of how the seed to sale tracking thing is just going to basically be irrelevant in years to come because of these kinds of issues. So that's my story today. It turned out to be a more important story than I thought. When I first looked at it, I'm just like, oh yeah, some non-compliant weed, okay, big deal. But it seems like Missouri's got it out for this, and they're following their tracking software and making sure that no extra product makes it into their supply chain. Good in certain ways and bad in other ways, but I'd be interested in what my correspondents have to say back in Vermont, folks. So it's great to be home. Be interested in what y'all have to say. Have a great weekend this weekend, folks.
Man, I guess this has all started because of that distillate, right? They found all of that converted distillate from that one company, and made it into the system. They had a whole big recall, and I bet you this is all just stemming from all of that.
Stemming.
There were stems in the distillate?
Yeah, stems.
Oh,
no
boy.
sticks, no seeds.
No, but Jason, what they're doing too is they're using distillate to bring up THC numbers, and so you could do that on mediocre mids, right?
Yep.
So now what was like a 10 or 15% shake is now analyzing up into 20s or 30s. They're not only doing that with THC distillate, they're actually now doing it with THCA, and that becomes really difficult to determine whether the THCA was added to the low quality cannabis, or was it part of the THCA that was actually grown in the cannabis. Because with THC distillate, it's all decarboxylated. So as soon as you see high levels of THC, you have to wonder, well, why isn't that THCA? It's THC because they basically sprayed distillate onto it.
Mm-hmm. So, Mark, I got a question. I got a question for you. I'm curious about your opinion on that portion of the article that you covered that said that the recall that was issued earlier this week is blah, blah, blah. This is because these are products that were sold that are no longer in inventory. So how do you have a recall on things that have already sold through to the consumer, and how does that work in a regulated supply chain?
They do that in the car industry all the time.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess they want people to like check this story and to know that part of their cannabis, it's not like it's bad. It wasn't fully so the cannabis flower was tested, but then maybe they sold it to a manufacturer, put it in a joint machine, pre-rolled it, maybe rolled it in some keef, and now there's some keef cones that are being sold without a COA on the keef cone, but there's a COA on the flower. So I don't know. Maybe what they were relying on is those people who actually put those SKUs into the stores to basically say, okay, we need to pull that. But you're absolutely right. This is kind of like too little, too late.
I mean, if I go to a restaurant and I eat the fish, and 2 days later they call me and they tell me, that wasn't refrigerated well enough. I appreciate their attempts to keep us safe.
Yep.
I guess you're welcome to come back and barf into their salad bar, I guess.
Maybe this is just as a Missouri's version of a recent LA Times article that came out.
I mean, I think it's no secret that adulterated products are making their way into the market. I think this is, a shame on the bad operators that are doing it, because it's not a surprise. You're asking for conversion leaders. I've seen people fucking do it. Like, I've had people ask me for dirties. I'm like, I don't sell dirties, but, God bless you. I think that.
I like
hold on, Yarrow,
adult.
let me finish.
Yeah.
Yarrow ate his Wheaties this morning. He's all hyped up.
Go ahead, Yarrow. And then we're going to keep this moving.
You gonna let me? You gonna cut me off?
Oh, sorry. No, I wasn't trying to. I thought you were finished.
I think we're talking about a lot of failed DCRs because they should be doing a better job of getting these recalls out more quickly, but they all should be doing a better job of actually penalizing these people. And in California, the DCC's procedure, when you have some product that even if you can't find the proper origin for that tag, right? They're saying that it's a possibility that this could have been an adulterated product because you don't have the origin chain of command to say exactly where this came from, and that product is put under embargo immediately until you prove where the heck you got it from. So I think that the DCR in Missouri needs to take some notes for the DCC because it's a pain in the ass process. It's difficult, but it definitely will deter you from bringing in things that shouldn't be in the market. And I think when we're talking about consumer safety, that's when my hat kind of shifts off of, well, get your bread and do the right thing.
Buyer beware.
I was just gonna say I like adult rated, not adulterated.
Oh, I like what you did there. I like
Yarrow,
Yarrow, did you eat a blue chew this morning?
No,
on that, we're gonna go to our last commercial, and we're gonna be right back.
Yarrow, spicy.
I think there's an app for that.
I'm Jason Beck, and this is Smoky Vanilla. And if you want to feel as good as I look, then you need to get a stretch and smoke with Smoky Vanilla.
Hi, I'm Smoky Vanilla. I have my bachelor's degree in kinesiology, and I'm a sports massage therapist and stretch coach. I focus mostly on individuals that are in sport with chronic pain or injury. I love to intuitively create and customize a session based on the individual that I'm working with. We'll go over a few postural assessments, work together to create a wellness journey based on the health history, past injuries, or anything still affecting you today. And we'll get you back on your feet right away with less pain.
We're about to stretch, and then we're gonna smoke, because we're gonna get on our stretch and smoke. If you want to feel as good as I look, then you need to come on down and get a stretch and smoke with none other than Smoky Vanilla.
Did they put that on his tombstone? Forever hard?
We're over time right now, Yarrow, for all that.
Up next, believe it or not, today she is the calm one.
Oh boy.
Up next is Candace.
Calm before the storm.
Candace Owens' worst nightmare. Somebody also melanated that might be a little bit more conservative than she is because it comes from the heart. She is the mind behind Kind Cannabis Consulting, and she is also the juice that pumps through the veins of justice served. 501c3. Come to the stage next. Y'all know who it is. Jenny Beth Dills.
Hey guys.
Oh yeah.
Oh boy. All right. So this story, I am going to probably surprise you with my opinions. I'm going to be a little less opinionated than normal. I got to tiptoe lightly, but it is the story I was given, so it's a story that needs to be reported. And you guys can do your research and figure out why I'm shutting my fucking mouth a little bit. But a famous rapper lost $1.5 million in a California pot deal gone bad, the lawsuit alleges. California's massive legal cannabis market once seemed like it would make anyone who got involved very rich, but one famous rapper found out that some pot investments just can go up in smoke. Tahid K. Epps, better known by a stage name, 2 Chainz, not one, but 2, invested $1.5 million into Los Angeles Cannabis Company in 2021 in a deal that quickly went sour, leaving the famous rapper out of nearly his entire investment. According to a lawsuit filed last week in Los Angeles Superior Court, it was reported first by Law 360. Epps is a Grammy Award-winning rapper and one of the most successful rappers in the trap style, a genre that originated in Atlanta, and is known for slower, deep-bass beats centered around drug culture. Epps is also a noted fan of weed, appearing in a Vice series that follows him as he samples opulent weed products. The lawsuit filed by Antimatter Holdings, an investment LLC, claims that Epps was introduced to the cannabis company by Snoop Dogg's tour manager, Damon Roderick. Eventually, Epps decided to invest in the Pineapple Express dispensary in Hollywood, which was run by the companies Pineapple Ventures, Inc. and Pineapple Express, Inc. The dispensary owners told Epps that their store would be open for business by April 2021, but numerous problems delayed opening for nearly a year, with the store not opening until March 2022, according to the lawsuit. The terms of Epps' investment gave him a monthly dividend, allowed him to recall 110% of his money at any time within 30 days' notice. But when Antimatter asked for their money back in May 2022, the company failed to pay up. According to the lawsuit, Epps himself personally texted the co-founder of the dispensary, Vincent Zade, in December of 2022 asking about the money, but Zade responded that they were no longer honoring the deal according to the lawsuit. The store has since shut down. Zade and multiple companies related to the Pineapple Express cannabis stores have been sued by other investors and business partners, including one who said the firm never filed its income taxes and owed nearly $1.69 million in back taxes, according to the Los Angeles Business Journal. Matthew Feinstein, a co-founder of Pineapple Express, said in an emailed statement to SF Gate that the lawsuit included false claims, including that Epps was owed money, and said the matter would be handled in arbitration. Attorneys representing Epps did not immediately return a request for comment. So I'm going to stay away from commenting on this actual story just because I am. But I will say that, you know, if you guys are finding it hard to get your cannabis companies funded, it's because of situations where investors have been fucked over. There was a long time where a lot of bad actors were able to play expert because this is an industry that a lot of traditional investors know nothing about. So they're relying on these people that are touting themselves as visionaries and as, you know, masters of their craft. And they're really just swindling you. So I think, you know, anytime you're doing business with someone, vet them, Google them, look up whatever you're doing with them, look up what other people have done with them, do a little bit of digging, and, you know, make sure that you're being your own best advocate. If something sounds crazy, then it's probably fucking crazy. 110% back on your money in 30 days at any point in time means I probably didn't need your 1.5 million if I've got it sitting at 110x all times. So
all day.
It sounds like a Ponzi
I'm
scheme.
tossing this back to y'all.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Like you said, Jenny Beth, we don't know all the details until we get all the details, but judging by what 2 Chainz is saying here, that they offered him in the beginning, that sounds like a Bernie Madoff deal. You can get 110% back, and you can ask for that pretty much anytime you want to within 30 days. That's too good to be true. You know, everybody wants to be a first mover in exciting new industries, and people have been getting finessed throughout history since the beginning of time, and this is just another example on the surface from what we see. There's reports of that happening again.
I mean,
I love 2 Chainz though.
Go ahead, Yarrow.
I just have a slightly different perspective on it, which is that because we don't know all the terms of the deal, there may have been a minimum period where he had to put it into the business for X number of months, and then at that point, he had the ability to call his money. And
Yeah, that's
so if that was more,
been like a vesting period too.
yeah, exactly. So if that was more than a year or more than 18 months, 10% return on your money isn't crazy. I think 2 Chainz probably has a pretty decent team around him. I don't always feel bad for multimillionaires losing money on risky investments, but I feel really bad for 2 Chainz. He's been great to the industry. He's performed at MJ Biz.
Yeah.
He has elevated the conversation in his most expensivest. He has showcased and highlighted amazing cannabis products and brought people on who talk about genetics. And so this one, I don't know that there was enough yellow flags for somebody to not think that this was a decent investment. What it sounds like to me is these people just didn't have the intestinal fortitude to honor their agreement to be righteous in the contract that they entered into. And it's sad because he's done a lot to amplify the conversation about great cannabis, and for him to get burned like that instead of us just burning great cannabis is a travesty all the way around, not just for his pocketbook, but for the industry in general.
Yeah, Yarrow, to piggyback off what you said, Yarrow, like a millionaire, like losing money, that's true. He took the risk, right? At the end of the day, he took the risk.
But I feel bad for him.
Yeah,
because
this is still a nascent industry, which is federally illegal. So, as we all know, in whatever market, not just here in California, rules change on the drop of the dime in this industry. And if the business that you are investing in does not have the dexterity to shift and pivot immediately to keep up with those changes, you can be out of business in a matter of days, right? So,
well, shame on the investor if they're not. You know, there's a certain level of due diligence, and there's an old saying, you go kick the tires, right? So certain, investors.
I don't know that it's shame on the investor. I think the Pineapple Express for a moment was looking pretty good.
Yeah, so let me just sort of relay some personal experience, which is that when investors are investing in the cannabis industry and they don't do the level of due diligence, like go kick the tires, go down to that facility, go look at the brand, go taste it. There's a lot of red flags that could come up during that level of due diligence, Yarrow. I'm sure you'll agree with me. What that also does is, a lot of people who get in have no idea what they're fucking doing. Right? And so that creates distressed assets that can often be, bought for, pennies on the dollar, because a bunch of people got in not knowing what the fuck they were doing, and now they're just trying to liquidate to save some of their investment. So there are kind of like half full, half empty. There could be opportunities out of that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. Well, I will say this. I've known 2 Chainz for a number of years now. That Vice episode that's referenced in the article, we had a hand in a lot of that and curating a lot of that for him, and he even did a photo shoot with Rolling Stone in my dispensary as well back in the day. So if you check out that article in regards to that, was all photographed there as well. I feel bad for 2 Chainz that this is the situation. I feel bad for the operators over there because it's a sad situation. But one thing that I do find extremely interesting in all of this is the fact that I saw a very high level person in the Pineapple Express hierarchy. Yes. Representing Pineapple Express. And it was at the recent Benzinga conference that was in LA that was famously coined Chadzinga by Mr. Elliot Lewis. Weed for the People. Yes, and so he was representing himself there and talking with lots of people and whatnot. And I was like, wow, this is, you know what I mean?
They're doing a raise.
Mm-hmm. They're doing a raise. Maybe they're raising to pay 2 Chainz back.
I mean, if a pot-smoking rapper can't put money into this industry without operators either going back and doing a loan modification or letting them know that they're on rocky ground, I mean, it just sounds like these people were completely unscrupulous, and that's not good for him. That's not good for them, and that's not good for any of us.
No.
I mean, but it sounds like from how the article is written and from the messages that were referenced, it sounded like when they asked for the money, they basically told them to F off and like no, we're not honoring the deal, and that's it. It doesn't sound like it doesn't sound as in the message that they were like, sorry bro, we're going through some tough times. Can we figure something out or da 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 da? It just sounds like they were basically telling them to F off.
Yeah. But based on the story, it's like that wasn't the deal. Or he said that the terms of the deal have changed.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
yeah,
I don't know, man. Well, we'll see. We'll see how this ends up.
Yeah, we'll definitely be following it along. And
pineapple depressed.
No, that's funny. I call it pineapple upside down cake.
Upside down pineapples, y'all.
Mm-hmm. Look at that. Oh man.
Yarrow knows what it means.
Yeah. You ready for Yarrow?
Up next,
yes.
Sebastopol Sage himself is High at 9 News' number 2 dope dad. But also bringing the heat as he emerges from the Shire under Gandalf's wings. The man, the myth, legend himself. A big shout out to Special Teams Consulting and all the work that he does out there. It is the lightest skinned social equity applicant in the world. Coming to the stage next, Yarrow Kubrin.
We gotta grow your dreads back, Yarrow.
Oh man, right now I'm just happy I got a little hair, so we'll see.
You look good,
You gotta lower the bar for me, brother.
Looking good.
So thank you. Good morning, High at 9 News viewers. This has been a great show for me anyway. I hope you've enjoyed it. I'm thoroughly entertained. I got the greatest company here on this show. My article today is dry and boring but important. Ocean City Code tweaked for cannabis dispensary regulations. This is by Bethany Hopper, associate editor of the OceanCityToday.com. Hot off the press here within the last 24 hours. On Monday, the Ocean City Council approved the first reading of two ordinances addressing cannabis and cannabis dispensaries within municipal limits. The vote comes less than a month after the Ocean City Planning Commission agreed to forward the changes to the council with a favorable recommendation. During the 2024 session, the Maryland General Assembly adopted House Bill 805, which clarified the authority of the jurisdictions to impose certain distance requirements for cannabis-related businesses. Simply put, the legislation allows the town of Ocean City to adopt code language to prohibit a licensed cannabis dispensary from being located within 100 feet of any residential zone, 500 feet of any pre-existing school, child care facility, public park, playground, recreation center, library, or place of worship, or 1,000 feet or up to a half a mile away from any other cannabis dispensary. In June, a proposed code amendment stating as much was brought to the Planning Commission for review. And in July, following public hearing, the commission voted to advance a favorable recommendation to the mayor and council, but with an amendment to allow operating hours between 8 a.m. and 11 p.m. or the hours allowed under state law. Back on the agenda this week, the council voted 6-0 with Councilwoman Carol Proctor absent. Carol, show up for work, to adopt the code amendment on first reading with no discussion. This incorporates the zoning regulations for cannabis and cannabis dispensaries, City Solicitor Heather Stansbury told the council. The council this week also voted to pass the first reading of a companion ordinance to amend several sections of the town code for the regulation of cannabis products and cannabis consumption. The changes as proposed would prohibit the consumption of cannabis while riding or transporting horses to and from the beach. Adds reference to cannabis dispensaries and micro dispensaries as licensed occupants, prohibits the sale or consumption of cannabis products in dry nightclubs, and prohibits the advertising of cannabis products on taxi cabs, amongst other things. So this is Yarrow Kubrin, High at 9 News. Let me kick this off real quick. Let me tell you why I covered it. I am not mad at some of these distance setback requirements, which are really cut and paste from other markets, and which, while prohibitive, because that can really eliminate a lot of otherwise eligible properties for cannabis dispensaries, at least is consistent and not less restrictive than what we've seen in other markets. So I appreciate cities coming up with something that they believe has already worked. And I want to remind cities, the most important thing is not just the rules and regs you make, but how quickly you process permits. Time is money. This is Yarrow Kubrin, High at 9 News.
I mean, this is. I mean, land use requirements. It's kind of, it's like this. It's what they are.
It's a little dry, but it's important, right? And so when we think about these requirements in certain markets, we also need to understand the limitations of these requirements in densely populated urban areas like New York City. Mm-hmm. Those radiuses become impractical when you're talking about high density residential and commercial.
You are 100% right about that, and oftentimes I've always told municipalities that what they need to put in there is incorporated as a walking distance radius as opposed to just a general circumference radius.
And while I'm not a big fan of overregulation, I'm actually not upset at the idea that they're banning consuming cannabis while riding a horse. That kind of makes a little sense to me. Both hands on the reins, motherfucker.
Man, but you're not driving. You're riding it.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure you can get a DUI on a bicycle, a horse, a lawnmower.
No. You can get a DUI driving. You're not driving when you are riding a horse. It's called riding a horse.
Yeah, and being from Virginia, my country boy coming out of me, a lot of my friends do have horses, and they ride these horses because they've gotten DUI.
And I think in a legal definition, I'm not sure, but as far as driving is concerned, that is in relation with a motor vehicle. They don't consider. They don't consider it the same thing.
But it's crazy how your motor vehicle can have
DUI
a certain...
attorney. Since horses are considered vehicles, riding while intoxicated can be interpreted as operating a vehicle under the influence, similar to driving a car.
Jason, your horse...
I just pulled Jason's horse right out from under him.
Your motor vehicle is judged by the...
Has anyone ever been to Ocean City, Maryland?
Yeah, I mean,
I don't think people ride around on horses in Ocean City.
It's true.
Mm-hmm. What's that, Dr. Mark?
People don't ride around on horses in Ocean City, Maryland. They just don't.
No, they shoot the horse they rode on.
Oh my god.
Oh, that's not nice,
But
Yarrow.
it's not too
Hey, but
far
if it's
from
dead, you still
Assateague
beating it?
Island, which has got wild horses.
Speaking of not nice, this is True Confession Friday. If you can get a DUI for riding a lawnmower while intoxicated, I am guilty as charged.
Man,
We know that.
That is crazy. That is crazy that you can get a DUI for riding a horse. I'm shocked by that. I just got a new wrinkle in my brain.
Well, good.
man.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Jenny.
Yeah, I got you, friend.
Much appreciate it.
Yeah, man. Horsepower.
Fair enough.
Horsepower.
Yeah, that's that. I think that's why it is. It's all because of horsepower. I
Well,
agree with that.
horses
Rico.
used to pull buggies, and then we advanced to cars, so horsepower would be a reasonable way to quantify it, right?
Well, horsepower is reasonable because that's how they quantify strength of engines.
I mean, is it a Mustang or is it a Clydesdale?
Only Clydesdales.
Clydesdale's got booty.
Clydesdale.
No, there's the wild horses that are just down the ocean in Assateague Island, right?
Hide your horses, guys.
Yeah, there's a lot of wild horses.
Yeah.
All across the country.
There are. There's wild horses there.
Yes.
Yeah, they are. Mm-hmm.
And they're not donkeys. They're just wild horses.
We ain't talking about ponies either.
No.
No mules.
No.
Oh, man.
Thoroughbred.
Thoroughbred.
All right. You guys are fucked up this morning.
Whatever.
Enough horsing around.
Yes, enough horsing around. You ready to go, Rico?
Oh man. Well, that was the last one of the day, huh?
Yeah, that was the last one
Oh
of the day,
shit,
bro.
man. Oh shit. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You thought I had someone to introduce?
Yeah, I thought we had more.
Oh, we're a 6-story show, not a 7-story show. Sorry.
Okay. All right. Give me 1 second. Give me 1 second.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you all for joining us for yet another episode of High 9 News. You can always catch us live weekdays at 9 a.m. Pacific, high noon on the East Coast. And big shout out to the super fans. Do we have any today?
No, I'm going to starve over the weekend, apparently.
I thought we would have some, because Trump is bringing in so much money these days.
I thought so too.
Man, it's spiraling.
Yeah.
But big shout out to our live audience members and everybody out there catching us across all media platforms, to our super vetted correspondent team tuning in from all over, bringing us much needed variety of perspective and your respective opinions to the table. Our production team, Cloud Media Partners, my man Adam over there. Looks like your hair is getting thick and feathered today, man. I like that. Looking like a bald eagle over there, man. Tell you what. Bald
right.
eagle. Bald eagles are they're definitely not bald though.
Yeah.
They're actually not bald.
No, they are not.
Yeah, believe it or
They're
not.
feathered.
Believe it or not, like birds of a feather. Always keeping our lights on. AV struggles to a minimum. All the sponsors out there too. Thank you to Cannabis Sativa L. The reason why we show up to read these stories every single day and in the studio on Fridays. Thank you too, baby girl. It has been Friday, August 9th, 2024. The show's over. You've all been blessed with the top industry headlines. Hope it's enough for you to put in your pipe at least until Monday. My name is Rico Lamitte, the dopest dad on the streets for High 9 News, America's #1 daily cannabis news show. Any last shout outs before? Big shout out to Babes in the Bay. That's why I'm out here in Long Beach. Also, Babes in the Bay going down at Colorado Lagoon. Anything you gonna give a shout out for?
Yeah, if you guys pray, whatever, send good vibes. My mama's in surgery right now, so shout out to Big Debbie. We love you.
Good vibrations out to Mama Beth out there, Mama Beth Dills.
Yes, most definitely.
Out there.
Definitely Mama Beth Dills out there.
And we're gonna knock this thing right on out to Dr. Mark Scialdone, the professor. What you got for us, Dr. Mark? Take us out for the weekend.
Well, we got our own Debbie to deal with this week. We're getting hit with Hurricane Debbie. So hopefully everyone stays safe. And remember, an apple a day keeps the doctor away.
Well, Dr. Mark, hopefully it's a little Debbie.
Little Debbie. Yeah, Little Debbie's got a Little Debbie snack for us.
Yes. And hopefully that apple has been converted into smoking apparatus.
Oh boy.
There we go.
that apple and hurl it at the doctor's head.
At the doctor, yeah.
The Gmail changed the password?
Have a great weekend, guys. Take care.
Bye, y'all.
Like a ton of influencers and yeah, free event.
Why are we still streaming?
The password for YouTube was changed 3 months ago, and I wasn't informed, so I don't know what the password is, so I changed it.
Oh, you changed it. What is it now?
We're still live right now.
No, we're not.
Yes, we are. I'm watching it.
We're not live.
Well, I'm watching it on YouTube